letting somebody or something outside of myself determine what I see as beautiful, like, is wrong. I think that body image is such a huge part of why we have so many issues in the diet fitness industry. And I think the obsession with getting a certain look rather than having our goals, like I try really hard with my clients to have them find a goal that is within their control. But like, I'm gonna make it to exercise class 3 days a week for the next month.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to walk every day for 15 minutes, or I'm going to eat a vegetable every single day for the month. Like, or I'm working towards getting my first pull up or squatting my weight in my back squat. Like, to me, those are goals I can do something about.
What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie. I'm on a mission to help humans become their favorite versions of themselves and to strive for overall health by healing their relationship to food and exercise, healing their relationship to their body, and most importantly, healing their relationship to themselves, all without ever having to step on a scale. I have had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who have been through a plethora of experiences just being a human and existing. I believe that every single time someone shares their story, at least one person listening will learn from it, be inspired by it, and maybe, just maybe, even change the entire direction of their life. These are the stories of humans unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. I have a history of migraines that go all the way back to when I was 7. And every once in a while, man, they just hit me hard. Like, I'm feeling better today than the first day, but they get so bad that I get like stupid, like no brain.
I have had a few and they wipe me out, so I can understand. I can't imagine 4 days.
Yeah. I mean, it is better, so I don't feel the need to like go to the doctor or anything, but right before we connected, I Googled day 4 of headache, and Google's like, this is a medical emergency. So I texted my husband. I was like, Google says I'm dying.
Google will always say that you're dying. Oh.
Anyway, welcome to the show. Thank you for your yes. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, so who are you? What is it that you do? Who is Sheena Olson underneath? Like all the things. Ready, set, go.
I am the owner of Strength Unleashed, and I started out as just a fitness trainer, and it has branched into nutritionist, life coach, speaker, retreat host. And outside of that, I am also a mom and wife and dog mom and lover of learning and shenanigans. And yeah.
Nice. And I know this has nothing to do with anything you just said, but do you frequently wear black?
I love black. I try to branch into color, but black is a go-to for me.
Nice. I only asked because you just said a whole bunch of things like where you and I are both totally aligned, like the personal training, nutritionist, life coach, and I'm soon going to be branching out into speaking, and I always wear black. And I was like, she's wearing black. Does she always wear black?
Oh, I do wear a lot of black. Maybe we've just found our new best friend.
Right? I was thinking the same thing. So what kind of person do you typically work with in your business? Like, do you have a specific niche or?
So my ideal client is women mid to, I hate to say midlife because I feel like that's where I'm at and I don't really feel like I'm midlife, but midlife area, 30 to 60-ish. And most of my clients tend to be busy, hardworking women that are trying to figure out how to balance all of the things, whether it's job or a stay-at-home mom, because that is also a full-time job.
Oh yeah.
And then balancing kids and all of the roles that we take on, and still trying to prioritize ourselves and make sure that we're taken care of, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah. Yeah, that's big. And the whole the way I like to look at the balance piece is that I don't think we ever really can balance everything out, but what we can do is keep ourselves centered so that um when unexpected life happens, which it's always going to happen, right? Like 4-day headaches.
Yes.
You yourself are centered and it gives you the capacity to deal with any of the chaos that, gets thrown at you.
I think that's huge. I also think one of the things that was brought to my attention several years ago was the idea of balance. When we think of balance, we think of things being like equal in all
Hmm.
areas. But if you think of walking like a tightrope or a balance beam, there are times where as you're moving forward, all of your focus is on one area, or like all of your weight is on one
Yeah.
foot. And as you move forward, that shifts and that changes. But that doesn't mean that, so balance doesn't have to be everything's getting the same attention and the same um, amount of time. It's sometimes we dig in deep in one area, but as we move forward, we're going to keep what we learned there and put our focus into other things.
Yeah. I like that too. I've never thought of it that way, but like we're focusing on one foot at a time on the tightrope. And yeah, I like that. Um, so what's your story? Like, how did you get into this and how has it evolved over time? All of the things.
So I started about 9 years ago. I had just, I, so I had kind of gotten into a funk. We had moved, I had never lived away from more than 20 minutes away from family, and we had moved like 4 hours away from anything I had known. And a, I had very, very high energy kids, and my husband got a job. So we moved. And my youngest was like 18 months. And then I had a 3 year old who was recovering from a head injury, and he had to be walking only for like 3 months, which was like a chore in and of itself. And all of that, and then being taken away from the help that I had with family being close by, kind of put me into this funk, and kind of almost like maybe a depression. I don't know. It wasn't diagnosed, but I started running. And I was like, and I had ran off and on for a few years, but I started running and I was like, I'm gonna run a marathon. I'm gonna sign up for a marathon. And I think that's I think that was a key indicator that something was off. I think when things are out of control in our world and we don't feel like we have control, and control is really an illusion. We don't really have control over a whole
Right.
lot. But when we feel out of control, we try to find something we can control, right? So that's when people cut bangs or like cut their hair off. I've done that before too, but I decided I'm going to train for this marathon because it was something that was within my control, right? So I'm going to create this plan and I'm going to go do this. So I trained and ran my first marathon, and it was good for me in the training, but when that training was done, I was really burned out and I was like, what now? Like, I don't know. So I kind of was back in this lull again,
Mhm.
and this funk. Like, it didn't take that anything away because I hadn't done any of the work to deal with processing my emotions or anything like that. And we moved again, and I started going to this exercise class that was free, and you could bring your kids. And um, anyway, I had been going for several months and the instructor got hurt. And I was like, I could do this. I could run this class. I know I could do this. And I have a huge background as an athlete, and like I've trained my whole life in different capacities. And so I was like, I could do this. This is fun. I think I want to take this on. So I was like, hey, if you guys don't mind, I would love to take over till she can come back. And they're like, yeah, like we want to keep coming. So I stepped in and took over for a little bit until this gal came back. And in doing that, it sparked something in me that was like, okay, this is what I want to do when I grow up. And so then I started getting certifications and different things to help me build that, and slowly have just built it's a garage gym, so it's nothing super fancy, but I've built a clientele. And then COVID hit, and we had to go with what was happening at the time and kind of branch into some of the online. And so I branched into that online piece and branched into so many people were asking, like, because exercise isn't about weight loss. Exercise is about changing your body and being healthy, being strong. It's not about losing weight per se. And so, and sometimes it helps, but that can't be the only thing you're doing to help the scale move if that's your goal. And so I was seeing how important the nutrition side of things was, and I'm like, okay, I need to dig into this. So I went and did the precision nutrition certification and did their nutritionist program. And so have slowly kind of built into that. And then I just found how much I loved working with people and putting workshops on and things like that. And I'm like, I want to coach and I want to speak and I want to help more, because it's more than just about the scale. There's all of the things that we need to be working outside of just get in a workout, get in your healthy food. There's all of these things that come up. Well, I'm struggling with, this part of my eating because I'm eating emotionally. And some of that dives into stuff that's way outside of my realm. I'm not a dietitian and I'm not a therapist. And so like there are times where I'm like, ooh, I think we've hit therapist territory here. So maybe let's find somebody for you to talk to about that. And I'll still help you, but I definitely want to stay in my lane and where I'm credible. So that's kind of the brief condensed version, but it's been a wild ride. It's been fun. And I have in-person classes. I have 3 time slots, Monday through Friday, that people can sign up for. And then I work with people one-on-one coaching online. Right now I have 3 spots open for one-on-one coaching. I only coach so many people at a time because I can only divide my attention so many ways right now where it's just me. So yeah. That's my story. You said you are a trainer nutritionist. I'm curious, how did you branch in? Did you start as a trainer, or was your path similar, or?
I I came from a history of disordered eating and like over exercising and all that fun stuff. And so I was going to say, I love everything you're doing because it's not necessarily weight focused. And so I help people. So what I say is I help people heal their relationship to food, heal their relationship to exercise, to themselves and to their bodies. And I tell them to throw their scale away because weight is not a behavior. And I think we put too much focus on that number. And I say this all the time, like my issue was that I was obsessed with the scale and the numbers and the tracking. And if I was off by 1 bit, then I would be in my bed in a ball crying and feeling like I failed. And so I'm like, that's not healthy. Like all this in the name of health, right? And
Yeah.
so, but originally I did get into personal training when I lost a whole bunch of weight, um, in a not very healthy way, but in my brain it was healthy because I was losing weight.
Right.
And then I got my sorry, it's that brain fog from the headache coming in. Uh, so I got my personal trainer certification 11 days before I gave birth. So I didn't quite
Oh,
do anything with that for a while. And then when my son was young, he's still young, but when he was like baby, I was studying the nutrition piece. And then I was like, there's something missing. There's something missing. It's like people say, well, you know what to do, and they're just not doing it. So what's the missing piece? And then that's when the life coaching came in. I'm like, oh yeah. And I read the book Intuitive Eating by
oh,
Elise Reich and Evelyn Tribole, and that book
that's a good
changed my
one.
life. Oh, it changed. I've
That's a
read it
good
like
one.
3 times now. So my work has kind of become focused on that person that has an obsession with numbers and only sees success in the scale, only sees how their day is going to go in the scale. And like you said, health is so much more than just that. Like, it's how much sleep are you getting? Are you healing your mind? What does your environment look like around you? Like, is the clutter in your home cluttering up your brain and vice versa? Um, all the things. What kind of relationships are you in? It's all related to health and they're all related to each other.
Yep.
So hopefully that helps in a nutshell of
Yeah. Yeah. No,
yeah,
I was just curious if it was similar. One of the things, it was interesting the other day, somebody had posted in a mom's group that I'm in on Facebook and had said, I've lost all this weight using semaglutide and now I'm pregnant and I'm starting to gain it back. And I hadn't built the healthy habits yet to go along with that weight loss. And I I just chimed in. I like sometimes I just can't even help myself, but I'm like, listen, like yes, that's awesome that you lost all of this weight and that's great, but your focus right now needs to be on growing a baby and
yeah,
doing healthy things for yourself. So build the healthy habits as you can, like talk to your doctor, but like go walking. Like you should be able to walk during your pregnancy. Build in a habit of going walking every day. Like, I think there's so many things that we think, oh, that's not going to do enough to help to like make any benefit. But like so many things like walking, making sure that every meal has the unofficial rule. I don't like enforce it or anything, but at my house, I tell my boys, make sure your meal has protein and produce. If we've covered those two things, I don't care what else you eat, but protein and produce. And
mm-hmm,
that way we're getting a little bit of fiber, a little bit of protein, and hopefully some vitamins and minerals. But it's a simple concept. It's not like, okay, you need to track everything you're eating and play Tetris at the end of the day to make sure that
yeah,
everything fits. And I swung when I first started in that pendulum of like I have to be perfect and I have to exercise 2 times a day and I have to do all this stuff to where like I wrecked my body and I wasn't happy. And I'm like, gosh, we search for happiness so deeply in outside things. And there's so much inward stuff that really is what brings that true happiness.
yeah. That
But
reminds me of I had a coaching session with my coach, and we were talking about this topic and how when I was at my smallest and also unhealthiest, I still hated myself and my body. And like, I'm not meant to be that small, you know? And so we were having this conversation. I'm like, well, I move my body every day. I eat things that are good for my body. And sometimes I eat things that are good for my soul. And like, I don't do the restriction thing. And I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. And he said something along the lines of, it's really interesting because most people think they have to get to that small body before they can feel that way. And you feel that way now. So it's like it's mental. It's mental and it's behaviors. Like I can't emphasize the behavior piece enough, you know. It's
Yeah.
not the scale, it's your behaviors.
Well, and so much, some of it, like when you said it's mental and it's also emotional, like we get emotional
Mhm.
ties to things that don't matter. Like,
Yeah.
like the number on the scale. Like, and when you said that, you tell your clients to throw their scales out. I'm not totally anti-scale. I was for a minute. Like I've swung that pendulum both ways. But I'm like, if this is going to bother you or you're going to feel like you're less worthy because the number isn't what you want to be seeing, you need to not. You need to be done. But this
Yeah.
is your relationship with gravity. That's it. Like
Yeah.
if the gravity on Earth for some reason changed, that number would change in either direction. So it is such a weird thing that we're so tied to. But
Yeah.
I also like it's an easy form of measurement. Like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, what we're doing is working because the scale went down. But it's I don't know, it's a mind game and you have to I guess for me, each client is just so individualized where like some clients
Yes.
I can be like, yeah, like let's pay attention to the numbers and watch things change. And some
Hmm.
clients I'm like, this isn't for you. This is this
Yeah.
I can see some red flags coming up all around. So,
Yeah. I do love that you point that out too, because I'm not anti-scale. I do believe in, you know, full body autonomy. And so in my mission statement, I make sure to word it in a way that's like, you know, my mission is to help people heal their relationship to themselves, blah, 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 all without ever having to step on a scale. So if you want to, go for it. But the other piece I wanted to point out is that sometimes the client's goal is to gain muscle.
yes.
And in that case, you either want to see the scale stay the same or go up, or the client wants to gain muscle and lose body fat. And in those cases, it messes with their mind because they're just thinking lose weight or shrink body number on scale, and they see it stay the same or go up and think that they're failing. When
Yep.
in fact, like they've gone down 2 sizes and they feel good and they feel strong and they feel tight, and they're still not giving themselves the credit because they're still focused on that number. So it's sticky. Like
It
it's
is
so
sticky.
personalized. Yeah.
Well, and there's definitely I have my boys are high school age and they wrestle. And
Mm.
so I never in 1,000 years thought I would have boys that cared about what they weighed. Like I was like, oh, well, I have boys. I'm not going to be worrying about like eating disorders
Right.
and things like that because it's typically girls that are stereotyped with having that problem. And I have to be careful with my boys. Like I'm like, because they're always trying to make weight for wrestling, and I'm like, okay, we gotta be healthy in what we're doing. Like, what's the real goal here? And trusting. So with that aspect, like they want to make a certain weight so they can wrestle in a certain weight category,
Hmm.
and so they'll do crazy, crazy, crazy things to like drop weight, and it's water weight. So I'm like, you're dehydrating yourself and then you're going to go fight. Like trust your skills, trust your skill set, trust that you trust your strength, trust your skills, like put in the effort there. Don't be putting in the effort here trying to like cut weight. Like it's stupid. But
Yeah.
I've seen some crazy things just with the wrestling team in general. I'm like, "Oh, I hate this." Like and it's funny because at the same time I'm the mom and so I don't know. Like I'm like, oh, if you just do this and do that, it will help you to, you know, get where you want to be in a healthy way. And
Yeah.
as the mom, they're like, you don't know, mom.
Yeah. What do we
But
know, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. It's been
Uh,
interesting to watch that unfold and something I never thought I would deal with. But I think that's something that maybe doesn't get addressed enough either is that men still struggle the same way we do. They
Yeah.
just don't show it the same way we do all the time. And they might not have the same societal pressures to look a certain way. Like we've accepted the dad bod, we've accepted some of these things. So some of the societal pressures aren't maybe there, but I do think that they still struggle
Yeah.
in ways that we don't see.
Yeah. And I've made it a point to follow a lot of men who have had that struggle. So a lot of, because for me at least, when I want to learn about something, I will follow all the things on social media. And so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just focusing on females and also males. And to your point, like I don't know. I was going to talk about the comment sections in those, but it's just as bad for the males, but like you said, um they don't express it like we do.
Yeah.
Those weren't your exact words, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, same idea. Um, do you so I have worked with a handful of men, but for the most part my clientele has been women. Um, do you work with both men and women or
My intention is to right now have one male client, but I'm actually working with him on content, so it's not even in my niche, but yeah, I'm not against working with men. It's just I think it's because I'm female and I tell my story, the females are attracted to my story. So,
yeah,
but yeah, I'm happy to work with men too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Same. I right now I have two male clients and they're great and I love them and I love working with them, but it's definitely a different ball game in some respects, and in some respects it's very very much the same. I think my biggest thing, so I was diagnosed in 2018 with PCOS
Mm.
and have dealt with all kinds of hormonal issues. And so I've dove deep into learning about hormones and what they do and why. And I think that also resonates with women because we're at that stage where we're like perimenopausal or menopausal and we're dealing
Mm.
with hormones and they affect things so much more than I think we realize sometimes. But I know that that's a lot of times something that some of the coaches I've seen them do content on. It's not your hormones. I'm like, but
But
sometimes
maybe.
sometimes it is actually like what
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of I get fired up about that a little bit sometimes. But
Yeah. And it also goes back to like the whole, well, it's so easy, just eat less and move more. It's like, well, PCOS is a perfect example of one of those, you know, things that will make a woman gain weight regardless
yes.
of how much she moves and eats. And
Yes.
it's so it goes back to what you were saying, like it's so personalized. Um I think it's just easier for people to say, well, it's easy. Do this and this. Well, it's not easy. Otherwise, everybody would be doing that.
Yeah, yeah. We wouldn't
Yeah.
have a obese population that is struggling
Yeah.
if it was actually easy. It's simple. The ideas behind a lot of the things are simple, but that doesn't
Mhm.
mean that it's easy by
Yeah.
any stretch because there's just so many underlying things. Like you said, you know, healing your relationship with food. If you have made like food an emotional thing and you're trying to battle that, that isn't easy.
Right.
Or if you're dealing with hormonal imbalances, that is not easy. So, or recovering from eating disorders or body
Yeah.
dysmorphia, or like those are the areas where it's like this isn't actually easy for most people.
Yeah.
But
I'm just curious. What is what was like your biggest aha moment when you were actively getting your education in personal training and nutrition? Um, versus like, I don't know how long ago it was and how prevalent social media was with all the bullshit and lies that people say on social media that have no education in this topic. So like, what was your biggest like, oh, like I had this belief about this thing and it's totally not true because like, no. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Um, goodness, I want to phone a friend. Um, I think for me, recognizing that it's the small habits. It's as much as we all want it to be like this fast process because we live in this world of instant gratification, it's the tiny things. It's the tiny things that you do daily that are, or consistently. I don't even want to say daily, consistently.
Yeah.
It's, you know, getting your sleep. I don't know that I wanted to recognize how important sleep and recovery and downtime. That's probably my biggest aha is recognizing my own need for recovery and rest and meditation and allowing my mind to quiet. Um, that was probably my number one aha moment as I was going through everything because it was like more is not always better. Like if
Right.
you spend like I look at like The Biggest Loser and they would spend like 8 hours a day exercising and I'm like that is insane. That's insane. I don't know who thought that that was going to be a grand
Yeah.
idea, but it's not sustainable. And so to me, like that is one of my biggest things when people I got a little fiery about keto and there's a Optivia, it's like packaged food and
That was my dieting rock bottom, just to point that out.
oh
Yep. Continue.
hey I would get so fired up because everybody was like, oh, I'm gonna do keto, I'm gonna do Optivia, I'm gonna do this and that. And I'm like, why? Like, do you hate bread? Do you like I help me understand? Like, well, it's just easier. I'm like, is it? And is it sustainable? Like, and I get that certain things are not sustainable for a lifetime. Like my marathon training for it was sustainable for the 6 months that I was training.
Right.
For my life, that is not sustainable for me to continue to train like that because I have other things that I want to do, other priorities, other whatevers. So when it comes to like food, diet, exercise, is what you're doing sustainable? Can you continue to do this for the rest of your life in some form or fashion? Like if you're counting calories, great. Is that something you can be like you can continue doing? Or figure out how to eat like that. Are you content continuing to eat like this for the rest of your life? And if you're not, we need to figure something else out. Same with keto. Like, are you,
Mhm.
you know, is that sustainable? Can you go without all of these things? And if you can, great. Like, and there are some people that do keto and they're just fine. I've kind of gotten over whatever was super triggering for me about keto, but I struggled for a long time and like the Optibia and the packaged food that comes that like the Jenny Craig systems and stuff like that. I'm like, you're eating processed crap. And like it might be like the right amount of calories, but are you getting good nutrition and are you enjoying yourself? Like to me, food is should be enjoyed. It should be enjoyable.
Yeah.
And so, like, even if I'm eating something, I don't know, I was talking to somebody today. I had smoked some asparagus over the weekend, and I'm like, It was so good. Like it was, I can't stop talking about how good it was. And it was super simple. I just put olive oil, salt and pepper and put it on the smoker, but it was so good. And I keep talking about it, but I'm like, it was so enjoyable to me. And it's a vegetable. It's not like I was eating, cheesecake. I was eating a vegetable. So to me, like when you can get to a point where like you're enjoying what you're eating, regardless of if it's dessert or a vegetable
Yeah.
or, whatever. But I don't know. And like, I struggle probably more with getting my vegetables in than anything because I just don't love them. I want to you know, dip them in ranch or deep fry them or whatever. But I like that's been my biggest thing is learning okay, how can I prepare this that I actually am enjoying what I'm eating? Because I
Yeah.
remember at one point in time, sweet potatoes were like a huge like health food. Like everybody needs to be eating all of the sweet potatoes. I was like, man, I really, really don't like sweet potatoes, but if they're gonna make me be healthy, I'm gonna eat them. And so I'd eat my sweet potatoes and I'm like gagging
Well,
and my husband's like, yes. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I need to eat these. They're good for me. And he's like, I think that maybe you should just eat a regular potato. And I'm like, oh, but it's not as good. And then I dove into it and I started researching and I'm like, okay, the difference between a white potato, like a russet and a sweet potato is not, it's like a handful of minerals and that's about it. I'm
yeah.
like, why am I punishing myself trying to eat this and I don't enjoy it? So that's like one of my things. Like, am I enjoying what I'm eating? Am I fueling my body? Am I and can I sustain this?
Yeah. I love that. I was talking to another trainer a couple days ago, and he talked about the concept of, hold on, what did he call it? Um, man, not open nutrition, flexible nutrition, something like that. I'll find it.
Okay.
Um, but we were talking about like we want to get to a place where when we say I eat whatever I want, it doesn't mean that I sit and eat junk all day. So it's like I eat whatever I want. Like to your point, taking the nutrient dense stuff, making it in a way that you're going to enjoy it and say, I want this thing. Does that make sense? Is this making sense?
Yes.
Because it's
Yes,
like,
totally.
because somewhere along the way, like, I mean, you could up to a stranger at the park and be like, I eat whatever I want. And they'll automatically probably think, oh, they eat junk all day.
Yeah.
So what can we get to a place where I eat whatever I want means like a nice, healthy, balanced diet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
I um I think about that and I had a client at one point and she's like, "Oh, you'd be so proud of me. We had my daughter's birthday and I didn't have any birthday cake." And I'm like, "But
why?
did you want birthday cake?" Like I recognize where you're headed with this and I want to like give you a pat on the back, but did you want that? Did you miss out on something that was important to you in the name of being thin?
Hmm.
Like, there is so much more to life than being thin. Like, I don't want to be thin. I want to be like
Happy.
badass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to be happy. I want to be badass. I don't care. I don't know. Um, I think so I'm 42 and I think hitting like late 30s, I was like, you know what? I don't actually care. I don't care what my body looks like. Like, I mean, I want to take care of it, but I care more about what I'm capable of doing than my actual like what it looks like. Like
Hmm.
if I have a little bit of extra weight or like I don't know, I think there's so many visuals that we're given that aren't actually real people. They,
Yeah.
we expect our bodies to be able to do that and we're disappointed when they don't. But having a little bit of extra weight through your hips or your butt or your stomach or, whatever, like, I don't know. To me, I'm like, I think that that is beautiful. And like, I guess for me, letting somebody or something outside of myself determine what I see as beautiful, like, is wrong. Like,
Mhm.
I think that body image is such a huge part of why we have so many issues in the diet fitness industry. And I think the obsession with getting a certain look rather than having our goals, like I try really hard with my clients to have them find a goal that is within their control
Mhm.
and a goal that is work focused, I guess, like not the outcome focused, but
Mhm.
like I'm gonna make it to exercise class 3 days a week for the next month,
Yeah.
or I'm gonna walk every day for 15 minutes, or I'm gonna eat a vegetable every single day for the month. Like, to me, those are the kinds of goals, or I'm working towards getting my first pull up or squatting my weight in my back squat. Like, to me, those are goals I can do something about. I can move those along. I can slowly increase my weight and progressively move towards what I'm after. Where, like, I can't control how my body is going to hold on to weight right now. Like, watching people go through like menopausal changes and watching young girls go through um puberty. Oh my gosh, that word left my brain. But watching their bodies change, it is something they have no control over. How that weight distributes from a little person to a young woman. Like,
Mhm.
they don't, they a lot of times they don't change a lot of what they're eating. It's that the distribution of where things go is based on how their hormones are playing out in their body. And so I think to let an outside source determine, like, oh, well, this is beautiful and this is not, like, I don't know. I wish that we could change that piece of
Yeah,
fitness and nutrition and health in general.
I
I
agree.
also I also think we should get rid of BMI.
Fuck yes.
I feel like every time I
Uh,
go in, they're like, all of your markers are really great, but your BMI is high. And I'm like, yup, yup,
yep.
it is.
That's true. Yeah, at my tiniest body, my BMI was stage 1 obesity. I'm like, the fuck? But that kind of fed into my disordered thinking and body
Yeah,
dysmorphia and all that. It's just part of it. Ugh. Yeah.
yeah. No, it's insane to me when like those numbers just don't match anything realistic, especially because I think so many more women in the last couple of decades have started weight training. Like, as a kid, I had a neighbor who she would lift weights all the time. And I was always like, wow, like she's like an anomaly. Like, no other woman I know does this. And now it's pretty mainstream. You see a lot of women weightlifters and like looking to get strong. And so that number, like, it's outdated. It's not relevant. I mean, and I don't know that it ever was totally relevant, but like if you're not taking into account bone structure, if you're not taking into account muscle mass, like, to me those are huge indicators of health, that more so than what I weigh.
Right. And how tall you
So,
are.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I believe if I'm incorrect, listeners, please correct me, but I believe one of the reasons it is still around is so that insurance companies can charge people more based on like what category they're in. That is something I've heard a few times, but I've never actually vetted it. So again, if I'm wrong, correct me. Um, because I like to be proven wrong.
I like learning new information. I really hate it when I'm wrong, though.
Oh, really? Um,
Uh,
well, I have one more question for you,
okay.
and I ask at the end of every episode, and that is, if you had one piece of advice that you could give to the world, what would it be?
I have, so you had sent this in the message,
Yeah.
and I've been thinking about this. I'm like, gosh, like, so I sent a message out to a handful of people and was like, what have I helped
Oh,
you
that's
with? Like,
cool.
what has been like the number one thing that you have taken away from our time together? And I think for me, the number one thing I would say to people is find gratitude. Find if whatever it is you're working towards, find the gratitude because what we focus on expands. And when we put our focus into what we have and what is good, we continue to find more good. And it's a simple practice. And it's one of those same things like walking every day. Like you don't feel like it's going to do a whole lot, but gratitude has changed my whole world. So find gratitude for your body. If you can't find love yet for your body, find gratitude. What's it doing for you? How's it helping you? If you can't find, if you're struggling to be happy, be grateful to have a roof over your head. Be grateful for the sunshine. Be grateful for some of those superficial things, and the deeper things will come.
Boom. Beautiful beasts, Sheena Olson signing off. Until next time.